Now, under the law, the minute the writ drops, I am obliged in 48 hours to issue a detailed document with guidelines for all the parties and the broadcasters. And so after each writ drops in past elections, I already have a set of guidelines. I'll amend them and fix all the numbers and include all the paid time and free time stuff. And I will publish that. Elections Canada will publish it within 2 days of the writ dropping. So if the writ drops on September 1, you'll see my guidelines on September 3. And how will you see them? Well, the CRTC puts them on its website. Elections Canada puts it on its website. Real easy to find, it's bilingual. Okay. Now, the guidelines, they're about 30 pages long, a lot of stuff, boring for most of you, but what it will indicate is how much paid time people are entitled to, how much free time each party gets, on which stations, and what is the process for buying time if you, as a political party, want to buy time on the station. Now, my experience is that none of the parties tend to buy time on community or campus radio stations. No big surprise, you're not delivering the kind of viewing numbers that they want to have. So virtually all of the buying is done on conventional radio and television stations, and often in prime time, so that they get the biggest audience for their ads. So most of what I'm going to tell you about all this works is probably irrelevant, because you're never going to get a call from a political party saying, please, can I buy a minute or 30 seconds on such and such a program on your station? Now, what happens if you do get such a call, which you probably would love to get, because you can sell this time? Well, a couple of rules. First of all, you're not permitted to say no. You have to run the ad. Even if you have a policy that says, oh, we don't want to run any political ads. No, we don't want to be partisan. Sorry, the Act requires you to run the ad. However, you can charge your standard rate. It has to be the lowest unit rate that you normally charge for ads. And if you don't have a rate, you can make up one. So, fine. But you have to run the ad, and you got to run the ad in precisely the hour that the political party wants it to be run. Now, if you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to do that, all the party does is call up the broadcasting arbitrator. Guess who that is? And the arbitrator then calls the station and orders them to run the ad. And if you breach an order of my thing, I'll send it to you by email, call you. It's a fine of $25,000. You don't want to go there. So I've never had a station in the history of Canada ignoring my orders. In fact, they want to sell the time for the most part. But that's the ground rule. If you're asked to put an ad from a political party, any one of these 19 parties can call you. Now they have to call you, by the way, within 10 days of the writ dropping. You're off the hook if they haven't called you within that period to say, by the way, this is what we want for this election period. Okay? Now, they can ask for more than 1 minute, because 390 minutes are carved up among the 19 parties over the election period. So, in fact, I've frequently had situations where a major party will come to a broadcaster, and it doesn't have to be, by the way, just a radio or television station. It could be a specialty service. It could be TSN. Any one of these discretionary services. First choice, what it's now called, used to be TMN. Anyway, all of these services, of course, they love to sell the time to political parties, but they got to run. Okay, so now, rules for campus and community stations. You do have, as you know, under the CRTC rules, a guideline, or I think it's a rule that you can't have more than X minutes of commercials per week or something. I've forgotten the number. That has no relevance here. A, you're probably not going to get a request to run a political ad, but if you do, it'll be well within that framework. So my advice to you is, if you get such a call, be happy, bill them the regular lowest rate, and run the That's against the law.
Can anyone?
Well, not quite. There are some rules. First of all, you're entitled to refuse an ad if it's not in the language of your broadcast. So you don't have to run a French ad if you're an English station. Why? Because that's your conditional license, you're an English station. Similarly, a political party has to observe the radio regulations, which prohibit obscene ads, hate propaganda, that sort of thing. But if the ad is simply, in your view, misleading, sorry, you can't project it. It still has to go out there. Now, you may have a program that says, hey, did you see this ad? Very misleading. That's an editorial comment by you. But the ad itself, you have to run. And so, and I tell stations that you're not entitled to censor a political ad. Yes, you can reject it if it's obscene and so forth, criminal code kind of problem. But other than that, there's no censorship of political ads. Well, this has nothing to do with political advertising, which was I was talking about, but you do have a requirement under Section 6 of the radio regulations, as you know, to give equitable time coverage to all rival candidates and parties. That's just a general obligation of all radio stations. So if you're going to have a talk show and you're going to invite a couple of people to speak, you should give equitable time to all the parties. Now, equitable doesn't mean equal. So that you can focus in on the major parties if you want, and then refer to the minor parties in a way. Well, there's also these other ones. You might name them, but that's about it. You've got a lot of discretion there as to how you. If it's only hate speech, but it isn't within, take a look at the section in the radio regulations.
You can't publish hate speech. Abusive comment? Is that the one?
No, it can be abusive.
Well, that's a section.
Yeah, you can't be any abusive comment that, when taken in context, tends or is likely to expose an individual or group or class of individuals to hatred or contempt on the basis of race, national origin, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, age, or mental or physical disability. Okay. So if you can say the ad, unfortunately, has an abusive comment, then yeah, you can reject it.
Which section? Sorry.
Section 3, sub B of the radio regulations. And then the other ones, any obscene or profane language, you can project it on that basis. Any false or misleading news, you can project that.
If a station believes that there is abusive comment in an ad, and they tell the party that they're not prepared to run it, if there's a dispute about that, who did they speak to? Did they speak to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And my second question is, going back to what Glenn was asking about advertising. You talked about equitable content and the responsibility to do that, but I'm still not clear on whether stations are obligated to put themselves out and take the initiative to contact parties and say, hey, you can advertise with us just because one party has bought an ad. They don't have to do that.
I don't know. It's up to them. Yeah?
So we're just talking federal politics here. Is there someone that oversees the provincial or municipal?
I don't deal with provincial or municipal.
Do they have somebody in that?
No, they don't.
Oh, I see.
It's the wide world of the jungle there.
Right.
Only federal elections do I get involved.
Right.
So would that then mean if there is no provincial or municipal oversight regarding this, we could charge more at a lower amount?
You'd have to look at the Provincial Elections Act, but to my knowledge, there's no provision about race. And actually, it would be hard for a provincial statute to govern broadcasters because broadcasting is a federal jurisdiction. So, but the rule of you can only apply, you can only charge the lowest